put your hands together for Ellen Coatney.
Okay, so when I heard the theme was parties, I fully expected to come here and hear a ton of those like crazy high school parties where everyone is like drunk and high and like hooking up in the bathroom. And I wanted to share a story like that too. Except the problem is that I don't have any because I was like a mega nerd in high school. I was like the easiest kid to raise. My parents literally never had to give me any rules. I never even had a curfew because they just knew like, oh, she'll get tired around 10 and come home. And I still do, so that was like not an inaccurate perception of me. There was only one time where I like explicitly did something against my parents' wishes. And it was the summer when I was 17. I was probably gonna start my senior year of high school in like 2 or 3 weeks. And my parents decided they wanted to take a vacation. They wanted to go visit my brother in Colorado for a week. And they didn't want to leave me home alone, but not because they thought I was gonna like throw a crazy party. I think honestly their biggest concern was that I would like find a spider and like not know what to do with it. And so they asked my older sister to come and stay with me for the week. She was like 22 or 21 at the time. And they only gave us one rule for the entire week. Again, we are 21 and 17. We have an entire house to ourselves for a whole week, and they gave us one rule. And that rule was that we were not allowed to drive the car out of state. And like, yes, right? Like that is a hyper-specific rule. And honestly, I think the rest of this story is my parents' fault. Because like, who gives a rule that specific and like doesn't expect it to immediately get broken? And it was like so random. Like we did not live near a state line. We could apparently drive the car as deeply into the state of Illinois as we wanted, but we could not drive out of Illinois. And so yeah, they tell us this rule and we're like, okay, like we were never gonna do that, but okay. My sister and I are really close. Our favorite thing in the world to do together is eat a lot of chicken tenders and then complain about how many chicken tenders we've eaten. So for the first like 3 days of this week together, we would go and eat a bunch of chicken tenders, and then we would come home and lay on the floor of the living room and talk about how many chicken tenders we just ate. So as you can imagine, that kept us pretty busy for the first like 2 to 3 days. But then we started to get bored, and it was like that really specific kind of boredom that can only be cured by a road trip. I wonder like who planted that idea in our heads, right? But again, like we were really good kids. We weren't just gonna take like a frivolous road trip that had no like purpose. So we decided we needed a productive road trip, something that would accomplish something. So we decided we were gonna go visit a school that I was thinking of applying to, a college, because again, I'm about to start my senior year. The problem was that I didn't like living in the state of Illinois, and so all of the schools I was applying to were in other states. So we had to break the rule. We had no choice. We were responsible, though, in the sense that we chose the one that was closest to us, which was in the suburbs of Milwaukee. So it was only like 2.5 or 3 hours. So we figured, like, it'll be fine. The car can make it that far. It's not a big deal. So we didn't tell anyone about this, and we went off on our impromptu road trip. So we're on the highway, and we're going like 70 miles an hour, right? And all of a sudden, this bird comes out of nowhere and just swoops in front of our car. And we like scream, but we can't stop, right? And looking back, I like to think that it was like the spirit of my mother's disapproval. Turn back! So we like scream and we like keep going and we don't hear a thud and I turn and there's no dead bird in the middle of the highway. So we were like, oh, like it's fine. It must have made it to the other side. And so we did not heed my like mother's bird warning. And we continued hurtling on towards the state line. And so we get to Wisconsin, we get to this school, we're like driving all through campus, and we're like, ooh, they have grass, and you know, they have an old main, because I'm 17, and I don't know that every college campus has an old main. And so we like drive all through campus, we park right in front of the admissions building, and I like go in and I have my interview and I'm trying so hard to come across as like smart and great and like multifaceted and someone that you would want to be trapped on a tiny liberal arts campus with for 4 years. And I felt pretty good about it. I felt like I really like showed the best version of myself. I was feeling really proud of myself, and so we get in the car to drive home, and sure enough, we get like halfway, and the car starts making like a real weird noise, and it's getting like worse and worse. But I'm 17 and I'm stupid and I don't know anything about cars, and so we just keep driving. And we do make it home, but the car sounds terrible. And so we figure, like, okay, we just won't drive the car the rest of the week. We'll let it sleep it off, and then it'll be fine. And that logic made perfect sense to us. So we forgo the chicken tenders. We do not drive the car the rest of the week. So my parents come home like 3 days later, and they drive the car, and they're like, hey, like, that is not in the same condition we left it. What happened? And again, like, we're good kids, we're not gonna lie. And so we told them, like, well, we took it on a road trip, but to visit a college. So, like, bad kid thing, good kid thing, neutral kid thing. They didn't see it that way. They were really mad, but mostly, I think they were really surprised that we had, like, broken such a clear rule. Like, that was just, like, not something we ever did. And so my dad took it to their mechanic, and my parents have been friends with their mechanic for, like, my entire life. Like, they've always gone to the same mechanic. He's a total shyster, but they don't care. And so this mechanic, my dad explains what happened, and this mechanic is like, I told you not to take that car out of state. My dad is like, I know, like, my daughter's a dumbass, I'm sorry. So he has to, like, go through this whole humiliating conversation with their mechanic. The mechanic's like, okay, like, I'll see what I can do. So he puts it in the garage, and he starts to crank it up, and my dad's walking away. But he feels the car, like, calling out to him. Like, he feels the need to look at it one more time. And so he turns over his shoulder, and there, slowly being cranked up in this mechanic's garage, plastered Jesus style on the grill, is a dead bird. And so I drove a dead animal all throughout this campus. I parked it right outside the admissions building, right outside the window, where I would then go in like a psychopath and try to convince these people that I was like this really great, well-adjusted suburban kid. So my dad has this moment where he's like, do I tell the mechanic I've been friends with for years that there's a dead animal plastered to the car I just put into his garage? No, I don't. And so he keeps walking. And the mechanic found it because it was not there when we picked the car up. But the story has a happy ending because I did end up getting into that school, and that is the school that I ended up going to. But the whole 4 years that I was there, I kept like looking around at my classmates like, I literally drove a dead animal's carcass all over this campus, and they still accepted me. Like, what does that say about you guys? Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. That was weird. See my car? Anyway, I want to come to this school. That's big dick energy. That's pretty cool. Weird as shit, but pretty cool.